Alright everybody, thanks for joining me today as we are going to look at, is Pokemon in a junk wax era? Well, we're going to go ahead and take a look at this. I watched a video yesterday. The video kind of drove me crazy just because of the way he was putting his analysis on things and strictly sticking to the 9.1 billion Pokemon cards produced in the last year. Yes, we could sit there and stick on that number all day, but let's really break that number down for what that means, and I will also explain why Pokemon is probably not in a junk wax era. So guys, if you're new here, hit that subscribe, hit that notify, and as always, hit that like button, guys. We can 75 likes in this video. It's greatly appreciated, helps out a ton, and of course, it's free for you, so be sure you hit that like before you leave. So when you look at Pokemon investment, and you sit there, and I was watching this video, and I'm not going to name the name of the video. I'm not going to name the person who did it. Be honest with you. Not important. You can go ahead and search, Pokemon junk wax, and it'd probably be one of the first 2 or 3 on the channel that would come up. And the biggest thing is that he was having the argument that Pokemon is in a junk wax. There's going to be so much product, 9.1 billion cards. You're an idiot. You're, call everybody these weird acronyms that from someone that's about 10 years older than I am. And the fact of the matter is that to me, it was a gentleman who has good knowledge in investing. He understands investment, but he doesn't understand TCGs or Pokemon in general. He seems like he invests in a lot of things. He's big in the market. He's big into, indexes and all the other index funds. He says he's getting to comic books and do all these different investments. So to me, it's that proverbial saying of jack of all trades, a master of none. And that's where I will tell anybody when it comes down to investing into anything. If you are going to sincerely be an investor and you want to be good at what you do, whether it's Pokemon investing, whether it's commodities trading, whether it's stock market, whether it is realty, you need to entrench yourself into that item. I've done it with Pokemon. I've entrenched myself in it. Number one, I play Pokemon, so I understand the gameplay of it. I also collect. I also invest. I understand a lot of the circumference of it and know how it operates and understand the basic, at least the main basic functions of the TCG in order to find my place in the space, like you should do, to find your space in this whole vast network of things and make the best decisions for yourself. So be sure you do that. If you're still skimming on the top, really entrench yourself. Go to a tournament. Guys, if you want to help this Pokemon investing and you want to help out Pokemon in general, go play a tournament. Even if you suck, I'm not that good, but I still enjoy it. It's fun to go talk with other people, enjoy it, and play the game. Take your kids, have them play the game. It's awesome, guys. It's a real fun way and a really easy way to really help the hobby grow and become stronger. So anyways, when we go ahead and look at this 9.1 billion, 9.1 billion is a staggering number in 1 year of print. I understand that. But you also have to consider there's one major difference between the sports card junk wax eras from the late 80s to early 90s to today's Pokemon. And the number one thing is that you have to understand that 9.1 billion is a lot of cards, but you have to understand the booster pack in general. What is inside of there? What's encompassing inside of there? So what I want to do first of all, before we really go into explaining why we're not in a junk wax era, is explain to you what you're actually looking at that 9.1 billion. So I've got the numbers all out here. Now, this is the interesting thing. We're going to go ahead and take the 9.1 billion and divide it by 12. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to get it down to a standard English booster pack. I know there's some of my watchers are from different countries. Japanese is sometimes less, sometimes it's equal. They're all over the place. Celebrations was 4, but I think a good, easy way of doing it is getting it down to 12. Put 12 cards in a pack. Now, why did I pick 12? Because there is 10 Pokemon cards. There is 1 energy. And I guarantee you that 9.1 billion, they counted the code cards too, because the code cards are still gone through the printing facilities. They are printed, they are cut, they are probably inspected, and they are put into the packs along with all the Pokemon cards. So they are part of the printing process. So you have 12 per pack. You're going to end up with 760 million booster packs of Pokemon. I know it still seems like a ton, but I'll keep breaking this down and it'll actually sound not as bad by the time I'm done with this, as surprising as that sounds. So you take that and you figure how many booster boxes that is. So you take that and you divide that by an English standard 36. So you're going to end up with roughly 21 million booster boxes of Pokemon TCG. Now I know Japanese is less, you could celebration, you could go through all the different scenarios. This is a generalization. It's not going to be exact. We'll never make this a number exact unless you work at Pokemon. And if you do, hit me up in my direct messages because I got some questions if you're out there. So now the next thing I'm going to look at is the number of sets. In the last year, we have had a total of 10 sets. There's been 11, but I'm going to go with 10. And it's going to make the number a little bit bigger, but on the other hand, it'll balance out probably fairly close anyways. And I'm going to cut out celebrations because of that 4-pack booster pack. It's going to completely screw everything up. And if I move these numbers around, it's just going to make the numbers worse. So and when the numbers are done and it's worse, it actually looks better. So if you look at it, we've had a total now of 10 sets released or reprinted in that last year. So the number one that we had for new sets is Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, you had Evolving Skies, you had Fusion Strike, and you had Brilliant Stars. So we had 6 sets produced in that 1 year. Now, on top of it, we had a reprint of Hidden Fates. We had a reprint of Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, and Sword and Shield base set. So once again, there were reprints inside of there. And you could also say Shining Fates. I cut that out too because that was technically the main print was back in February before. Yes, we've had a ton of reprints in the last year. But in general, we could put it in there for simplifying it. I'm going to say 10 sets. So if you go ahead and you divide that number by 10, you're going to end up with 2.1 million booster boxes per set. 2.1 million. That now we're starting to look at a little bit better, right? Now the other consideration you have to take is out of that 2.1 still seems like it's a lot, but now take in consideration that there are 76 countries that Pokemon sends cards to. Now, I guarantee this number that they gave us, the 9.1, was Japanese, Italian, German, South Korean, Chinese. You have also inside of there French. So there's a lot of different languages too. You start really breaking this out. It keeps getting smaller and smaller. But there's 76 countries that Pokemon is sent to, the card game. So you're looking at a total of 27,716 booster boxes per country. Well, that's not a huge number. That's not as big as it looks. And granted, I know it's not distributed evenly, and we could sit here and run semantics all day. It's not distributed evenly. I guarantee the United States has probably got over half of that in the English version between the United States and Canada. I know that. I know that probably out of that 2.1, at least 1 million booster boxes probably stays right here in North America. It's not leaving. That's where it's coming from, and I understand that part. So you sit there and you really look at that, and we play the game. There's 27,700 booster boxes per country around the world. That's not as many as it looks, and it seems like it keeps getting smaller. But there is also an advantage to this, and I'm going to show you what the advantage is to this now too. Is we can get a rough idea how many of these major alternate arts are out there also. So you look at that alternate art Charizard, or you look at the Moonbreon, or the VMAX Mew from Fusion Strike. We can actually kind of extrapolate backwards and get a rough idea of how many of these were actually produced. So you take that 9.1 billion and you divide it out by 12, you get the 600 or 760 million packs. Now you take those packs and you sit there and divide it by the pull rate of a certain chase card. So I'm going to do the alternate art Charizard because I think that that's a good one just to start out with. And the average is 680 packs to pull that alternate art Charizard from Brilliant Stars. So how many is that if you do that? You're roughly looking at 1.1 million alternate art Charizards out there in circulation. It seems like a ton. It really does when you sit there, but you got to remember, not all this product is going to be open right away. Not all this product is going to go around. There's some people that are actually playing these cards and they don't care about that value, that they're not holding on to it. Some people are going to hold it as singles. Some people are going to grade it. It's going to go all over the place. Is 1.1 million cards enough to satisfy the number of people looking for that card? Is the demand higher than the supply at 1.1 for a Charizard alternate art? I think that there's not enough. I think that that's why that price is kind of stabilized where it is that right now there are not enough for the demand for this product. I know 1.1 million seems like a lot, but realistically, how many Charizard fans are there? And how many people are trying to finish Charizard collections? How many people want to have one of these on their shelves? Probably over 1 million people, I'm willing to bet. Let's go ahead and look at the Moonbreon from Evolving Skies. Of course, we're going to have 1,652 packs. Now, this is an average between 4 different sites. And I took the numbers for the pull rates, put them together, divided them out, of course, came out with an average. It's 1,652 packs in order to pull that Moonbreon. That means that there are roughly 460,000, less than 500,000 of those cards out there. And as sought after as it is, that's actually pretty good. I mean, it's actually justifying its price, in my opinion. If you go to the price of the Charizard to the price of the Moonbreon being half as much, the card is half, again, better in price. So thus, it's kind of adding up to where it should be when you're actually looking at the numbers versus the rarity of this card. Now you got the VMAX Mew, which has got 1,856 packs for the pull rate on that one, which means there's roughly 410,000 of these cards out there in circulation or potentially in circulation. You remember, damaged cards, lost cards, all these things happen in transit and moving these things. They get damaged. Of course, we know how the printing is of the Pokemon TCG. These are all things that are factors included inside of this. So thus, 410 is not going to be 410. You're going to be less by the time it's all said and done. But once again, guys, these are just numbers that I want to show you guys that, hey, you can actually use that 9.1 billion to extrapolate how many of these chase cards and maybe find some good opportunities in there to purchase these alternate arts based on that pull rate. And definitely keep an eye as time moves on, as less cards are printed, and see how that pull rate continues to be affected. So let's go back to the original premise here, which is Pokemon in a junk wax era? And the reason I say no is because, number one, when it was a junk wax era in the early 90s, late 80s, there was product everywhere. The printers or Tops and all these companies were going back and buying back cards to destroy them because they printed so much of these cards that they flooded the market, completely saturated it, flooded it out to where they could not get rid of that product. That's a big issue. That's one thing to look at. Are we still having this issue with Pokemon? Is Pokemon overflowing shelves? Do we have sets from like Evolving Skies and Fusion Strike and all these older sets still sitting around in droves all over the place? No. Some places have it. Some places still have Battle Styles laying around or Chilling Reign. But in general, no. Our stores are, once again, running out of product. People are buying everything and they are using that product. And it just is what it is. I mean, we just are not getting enough product yet from Pokemon at 9.1 billion. So once again, that's a good example of how we are not in a junk wax. The primary market is empty. There is not very much product available for Pokemon. The next thing is that with the junk wax, what happened is that these were sports in the United States. Pokemon's worldwide. This is 9.1 billion cards worldwide. This isn't just the United States. This is how many Pokemon cards were produced. Now, what does that mean in general? It means that there are more avenues for Pokemon to get rid of these cards. There's more places to go. There's more areas to send it. We're not seeing the backups of these things. And thus, once again, it's kind of another showing that we're not in a junk wax. Could Pokemon get there? Of course they could. They could overprint it at any time. But here's the other advantage that Pokemon has over any kind of sports cards in that junk wax era. What company prints Pokemon cards? Pokemon, right? Pokemon International prints Pokemon cards. They set the volumes, they set the amount of printing, they set everything up so that they can do the reprints, the prints, and keep the product running, right? Who prints sports cards? I'll give you a minute, because you're going to take a little bit of time to sit here and figure out all the companies that actually print sports cards, and that's another issue. Sports cards have the ability to always become a junk wax era again. It could happen at any moment in time if Prism decides to start printing billions of cards. If Chronicle starts printing billions of cards. If Top starts printing billions of cards. Because the NFL does not print cards. They don't care. NFL really makes nothing on cards. They sell the licensing agreement to a sports card company to print the sports cards. They pretty much sell the availability for them to use these players' names on a card and be able to put them out there for people. So thus, it doesn't matter to an NFL who prints their cards. They'll put this licensing agreement out to 40 printing companies and let them all print cards. Same thing with the baseball. Same with hockey. Same with tennis. All of them. They are all just licensing agreements to multiple printers, to multiple companies, and all of these companies don't talk to each other and print as much as they want. They make the decision based on how their sales are, how much they're going to print. If Prism is out of stock and Prism sees a big opportunity to produce more cards, granted, they've got the knowledge of the junk wax era, but that doesn't stop them from actually being able to do it again if they wanted to. They could print it to death. They could print all of this stuff to death, print billions of cards, and create an actual junk wax. TCGs do not do that. They go by playability, the players using it, and the collectors come second. Yes, they seem to be printing more to collectors now. A lot of these TCGs are, but these are just examples of how a junk wax era in Pokemon or in any other TCG is not very likely, and that your Pokemon investments are probably a little bit more sound than what this person was actually pointing out. The one thing I do agree with them, of course, is that long-term versus short-term. To me, still, in most of these things, short-term is just a little bit safer. It's a safer game to do a short-term because you can always back out and make it long-term and still be able to recoup money. But in the short-term, you can get 20-30% right in the first year and get out of it. Of course, if you're going to sit there in a long-term situation, like he said, 10-15 years, that's risk. The longer that you're in the market, the longer you have a product sitting around, there's more risk involved with it. There's more risk of damage. There's more risk of it going to zero. There's more risks of the economy crushing these products and making them not worth very much. But that's the thing. High risk, high reward, right? Most of the time, if you take that risk has a good potential to give you a high reward if everything falls in place and things continue. So that's where you could buy a booster box now, sit on it for 15 years, and yes, it may be worth $1,000, $2,000 in 15 years. Is it guaranteed? No. Could Pokemon completely fail next year? Possible, not likely, but it could. Could everybody mass exodus out of Pokemon? Yes, of course they could. And these are all things that could happen with long-term investment and risk versus short-term investment and the risk. And it's all risk analysis for you, for what you want to do. So, like I said, guys, hopefully this has been a little bit knowledgeable for what you're looking at when you're talking these numbers. I know that billion number that he was pushing was really that's what he was really driving home, how that was going to completely crush Pokemon and the pricing. But in general, it's not as bad as it looks when you actually look at it going, it's not just all one flavor of pizza. There's 10 different flavors out there available for you. And you start spreading that down between a whole world plate, 9.1 billion is not as big as it looks, and actually seems a little bit smaller than what it actually could have been when it comes down to being a junk wax era. So other than that, guys, hopefully I helped you out. Hopefully it gives you some good knowledge and gives you a little bit more peace of mind as you continue your journey in the Pokemon investing here. And of course, what's going on in any kind of TCG investing. So if I did bring you good knowledge, of course, guys, hit that subscribe, hit that notify, and last but not least, hit that like button. We get 75 likes in this video. Greatly appreciated. If you do like this kind of content, as always, I will put up these two videos up next to me here for you for your information afterwards. And we will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.